projects, and so you can yeah, integrate that in your thinking on what you want to do and how you want to relate to the policy discussion. Oops. Okay, so I think Vincent has presented this to you already earlier in Riga. So the rural vision, the long-term vision for rural areas has been launched by the President von der Leyen, and it's coordinated by the Vice President Suika and Commissioners for Agriculture and Rural Development Wojciechowski and Commissioner Ferreira on the regional policy side. And from the service point of view, it's managed by a very large inter-service group under the command of the Secretary General. So my message in saying all of this is that it's a real cross-policy exercise. It's not something solely, it's not about agriculture, it's really about rural across the different European policies. In terms of where it is anchored in the European Commission policy agenda, which has been very productive lately. You see a lot of novelties and communications and stuff. So it's anchored in the democracy and demography part of the European Commission work. That has three main steps in the short term. The first one is the report on the impact of demographic change on Europe that has been released earlier in June, I think. The following step is the green paper on aging, and then the rural vision comes as a third step in the second quarter of 2021. So, but it's quite important to say that while, so it has a strong focus on people, but while it's on democracy and demography, it's not going to concentrate only to deal only with this. It's also going to embrace all the different aspects and the relation with other parts of the policy agenda, in particular the Green Deal and the Conference on the Future of Europe are mentioned in the documents, but also the link to the digital transition. So for me, this exercise is really at the interface of the people and social agenda of the policy agenda and the environment and digital and other parts, more sectorial parts also of the and environmental parts of the agenda. It doesn't move with the keyboard. So the dialogue process is very important. This is really a listening exercise and a debate. There's a roadmap that has been put online on the 22nd of July, and that is open for feedback until today. So this is about the process. So there you feedback on the process that is proposed to develop the long-term vision for rural areas. And then the fully fledged public consultation on the content of the vision has opened on Monday and will close on the 30th of November. So almost 3 months for people to contribute. You have the hyperlinks there to go into this. We have scheduled a conference to feedback and discuss the results of this public consultation that will be organized by the European Network for Rural Development around spring 2021, February, March, something like that. Maybe the dates have been chosen, but I'm not aware yet. But yeah, spring. And then the communication itself is expected for the second quarter of 2021. So the scope, if we read the roadmap document that has been put online, is really to create a debate on the future of rural areas and the role they have to play in our society. The idea is to say we want rural communities to feel part of the European project and really contribute to all of it and all the aspects and all the different policy objectives, and we want to see what's the impact for them, what's the difference also for them. So the roadmap says that this initiative will set out a vision for the future of rural areas by 2040. So the time horizon is 2040, and gather views covering challenges such as demographic change, connectivity, low income levels, and limited access to services. But it will also explore solutions in the light of climate and digital transformation and of the COVID-19 crisis. So as I was saying, this is really cross-policy and looking at the interface between all these different aspects and the rural as places. The elements of context in the roadmap give also a bit of an idea what's meant. They refer to predominantly rural region in the OECD classification, and really in terms of context, the roadmap highlights what the rural areas produce for the rest of society, what they contribute, both in terms of food and non-food products, but also the diversity of European culture. This was very important in the discourse of the president, also von der Leyen in the beginning. And it says that they have a key role in ensuring the stewardship of natural resources, and that make rural areas a crucial part of the transition to a green and sustainable Europe. So see, again, we're social, but also into the Green Deal. Then there's, I think one of the drivers behind this initiative is also the feeling of many people in rural areas to be overlooked, not listened to, that economic developments have reduced the numbers and also the quality of jobs available, reduced access to services, there's a major digital gap. So there's this feeling of being left behind, which is very much a problem, and the vision aims to also first listen to this and address, also see how it can be addressed. And then there's also, beyond all the challenges, a focus on opportunities that we see for the rural areas that include the need to address a balance and ensure a balanced territorial distribution of the population, avoiding overpopulation of cities. And we've seen what these can lead to in the case of a pandemic, for example, but there are many other problems. The role they can play in providing food, in mitigating climate change, in providing alternatives to fossil fuels. There's a circular economy mentioned here. I think it echoes to your work a lot. And then in general, ecosystem services that all, I mean, the whole society depends on rural areas for most of the ecosystem services. And so you need the rural areas to be vibrant for these services to be provided well. There's also a reference to the COVID-19 that may introduce significant changes to society. We don't know yet to which extent, long-lived, short-lived, which ones will remain or not, but definitely there are some changes from which rural areas could benefit if this is managed well. So why are we taking this activity, or what's the legal basis for EU action there? So the work is anchored in the Article 39 on the Common Agricultural Policy and the Articles on Territorial Cohesion. Because this is important because rural areas are very diverse, and you can question whether EU action is most relevant or should be taken, or whether it should remain a national and regional question. But there's a recognition that there are, beyond diversity, there are a set of common challenges and opportunities that rural areas face in Europe, and that some of these are cross-border, and therefore it's relevant to address them at EU level. And furthermore, that a lot of the European policies, so the Common Agricultural Policy is quoted, the regional as well, but also a number of other EU policies such as energy, transport, connectivity, environment and climate play important roles in the future of rural areas. So this is not only about CAP and regional policy, it's also about all the policies and looking at what is their impact on rural areas and trying to make them work also for rural areas. And the roadmap says, I'm only quoting text from the roadmap text, so that the initiative is to contribute to improving coordination between funding streams and other policy responses at EU and national governance levels, and to chart the course for potential actions which could address the identified issues. And I think that's really the objective. We've talked about problems a lot, but what is it that we're really going to do, and then plan a way to do that at EU level, but also together with other governance levels in similar ways has been done in the urban agenda, for example. So the public consultation, you have a screenshot of what it says there on the page. So again, it's open until 30th of November. The target audience is very wide. It's urban and rural people. We're asking about this, public and private sector, organizations and individuals, and research in academia, education and training institutions and organizations are specifically mentioned. So everyone's entitled to contribute from their own perspective. And there are several sections in the consultation. One is on the needs of rural areas today. Another is on what makes rural areas attractive and from people's point of view. Then the opportunities for the future of rural areas, and one point on governance. And there's an optional part on capped impact evaluation. Why is it optional? Is because the questions, this is needed to contribute to an evaluation exercise ongoing on the territorial impact of the common agricultural policy. And during such an exercise, you need to have a public consultation done as well, but the questions for this are much more complicated, and they require the respondents to know the funds, the measures, and this sorts of things that we do not expect the average respondent to the consultation to know. So this is for people who are able and yeah, capable to know which funds are there and which ones have been efficient or not, and things like that. So if you are such a person, your response is most welcome, but we don't want to force everyone, Auntie Anna and Uncle John, as we call them, to have to respond to this. How are we going to elaborate this communication? So a communication, is a type of document that provides evidence and charts the course for action in EU policy making. So there are three main tasks, let's say. The consultation and engagement exercise. So the public consultation is a big part of this, but there will be others. There's a foresight part, because this is forward-looking, and analytical work to provide the evidence. So on these three different bits, I think the project can contribute in three different ways. So for the engagement part, well, a lot of the Horizon multi-actor projects like yours, they have linked up to stakeholder groups or labs, living labs, multi-actor platforms, multi-actor labs. We have all sorts of formulas. These are potential groups that could be engaged in a dialogue in a bit of a deeper way if there's a will. So that's one way where you could contribute. Then on the foresight, we are interested in really now in the short term in getting any results of the work on local regional visions and on things analyzing papers or analyzing trends and drivers that impact the future of rural areas. So this is where it exists. I think it's good that it's highlighted, and we can use this for the foresight part of the work. And then for the analytical work, well, evidence from the project work on specific themes of every project. So for the engagement, a few more details. So consultation, I have mentioned already. I don't know if you're aware, but we have this project called Sherpa, which is a science policy society interface on rural development. They have it's a coordination and support action under Horizon 2020, and they have a role in linking the different Horizon projects working on rural development. I don't know if you've been in touch with them already or not. But they are using their project to conduct an envisioning exercise with their multi-actor platforms. They could share materials, but then what we've discussed with you is that you've done this visioning exercise already under VP3, and maybe you refresh it or evolve it under VP5, and so that could I mean, you've done that exercise already, so on your side it would be more to channel it to us, or just highlight where it is, or I would try to find it on the website myself. And we are going to have networking activities around this. A new thematic group is created that will meet for the first time on end of September. It's called Rural 2040, and it's a thematic group that is going to support the development of the vision, including the foresight aspect. And yeah, some other citizen engagement ideas are still in the making on our side. So I'm not in charge, but I will make all the projects know as soon as we can. So here, possible actions are really, I mean, for Alison to help spread the word on just a consultation, at least on your side. That would be great. Relay the social media messages that there can be. and encourage people in your communities to reply in their own individual capacity or coordinated if you wish and as you wish. I would say it's not compulsory, it's just an opportunity. You have these groups formed and that could be good to make them contribute. Then the Foresight part, how are we going to work on this? Well, first, the page is not blank. There's been projects under FP6 and FP7. The Volante project under FP7 was on scenarios of land use change, of future land use management, and the time horizon was 2040, so they were spot on. We're going to use that. And we have 4 ongoing horizon projects that have a big Foresight dimension in relation to rural development, so we're going to use them in priority. And there's going to be a rural dimension in the wider European Commission Strategic Foresight report, and work done on rural foresight with the Joint Research Center and with this thematic group that I already mentioned. So there again, a bit you to say how you want to get involved. But yeah, all the docs on drivers, megatrends, weak signals, or local foresights and local visions are useful to provide to us at this time. And finally, on the analytical work, that's where maybe the contribution could be bigger. So on our side, we're going to do all sorts of statistic analysis, indicators. The Joint Research Center is going to produce what they have from all their platforms and knowledge centers. We're going to use studies and all potential outcomes of the Horizon projects with a priority on the ones on rural dynamics and policies, not only the ones funded from DG Agri, but also from other societal challenges within the Horizon, for example, Ruritage or the Imagine. Michael is with us, Ruraction or other, I mean, the few projects with a focus on rural that are funded on their other parts of Horizon. We are very interested in their input as well. But from Robust, I was thinking that what would be useful is, I'm watching time, I'm almost done, Han. Elements for a vision of urban-rural relations by 2040. So this is your topic in your project, so that's where you could provide insights that others would not provide. There were discussions between Bettina and Hilke yesterday on a new city-country alliance, Utopia. Why not? That could be something that could feed into the work, or yeah. Then you have all this framework you have produced under work package 1 on this network governance and smart development and new localities. Are there lessons to integrate already available that we could feed into the work? There are these 6 urban-rural linkages that are cross-sectoral, which again, I find quite new and worth digging, and they could provide a nice bridge between a lot of issues, connect a lot of issues that are sometimes separated. So that could be something to integrate. Maybe some evidence-based messages from the COPs or more thematic things. And yeah, and in general, what I find interesting in your project for feeding into the vision is that you've worked in real local contexts in your living labs, and what you say comes from there, and so it can help, referring to this can help make sure that elements from the, it's not from the mission, probably I was working on the soil mission, is on the vision, the elements from the vision are grounded in local realities as well, because this is what we'll have to trigger. And the big challenge really is to find a balance between the diversity of rural areas that needs to be acknowledged and properly recognized, and what are the commonalities, the common things we can say and the common things we can do and to improve rural areas in Europe. Very quick, so that was the vision. Beyond the vision, there's a lot going on. I think that's will be the purpose of or the content of Vincent's presentation, so I'm not dwelling into this, but of course there's all the policy reforms, 21, 27, CAP, regional policy, and we should say the others as well. So there, I don't know if you managed to link up for some form of policy feedback, but at least around your living labs, it can be nice to make sure that the work feeds into the reflection on the CAP strategic plans, on the regional operational programs, and that sorts of things. And one other thing I wanted to say, it's not so much rural at the moment, it's very farming, but living labs are in the spotlight a lot as potential facilitators of transition and potential approaches that can speed up transition, especially in agriculture. We have a big initiatives starting on a European Research and Innovation Partnership on agroecology living labs and research infrastructures. There are discussions on place-based living labs with Canada. There's a whole science on just looking as living labs as object and as ways to do things and as approaches. And so there, I think I would be interested in what you have to say also in terms of what are the added values and hurdles of this approach. That we heard some discussions during the project meeting, but that could be something also on which there would be potential policy feedback that could be useful for us. And I'm done. Thank you for your attention.
Thanks very much, Alexia. I think that was really interesting and also very useful for us. Also to sort of, I think, see, it was in one of your last slides, sort of the relevance of the work that we're doing and how that, this slide, how that can sort of feed into the long-term vision. And I think we're at the right stage now because we can actually deliver input as part of the open consultation. So yeah, for me it was very fruitful to have this input. I don't know if there are any sort of questions or comments that people want to give. Don't see any hands being raised.
Damien.
Oh yeah, Damien. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, really interesting presentation. Just a practical question, really, about how we might go about informing some of these things. So how might we be able to, you know, inform or share some of our findings, whether it's about our 6 themes or data? Is there a way to do that, or a
and also timing? Maybe I didn't
yeah,
speak about timing, but you know, these things they take time to elaborate, but towards the end of the process, moving up towards the end of the process, you're really into validation, inter-service consultations, and the cabinets putting their touch on papers. So the time for input, I think, is really in the coming trimester, maybe up until January, Feb, and then probably there needs to be room to integrate the outcomes of the conference as well. But I would say beyond this, the first quarter of 2021, it will be very hard to integrate anything. And so I think, or to say it differently, I think the chances to get ideas in the paper are higher if the inputs comes before, let's say. So you can respond to the public consultation, but these are questions, a lot of boxes to tick, and with some open things, open boxes for free comments. So you can, as a consortium, you can reply to the public consultation if you want. And then the rest you can feed directly to me. I'm in the core group for the vision, and in the Foresight group, and in the, I hope, in the Analytical group as well. And feeding the results of Horizon 2020 project is part of the working method of the analytical work on the vision. So I will be able to provide this. So one way is that I go through all the material and read and select, and okay, but I have 15 projects and I'm not necessarily going to be able to do that very easily. Or you could help me, or I would ask you to help me in identifying the relevant inputs, deliverables, or reports that would mostly contribute to things. or you could decide also to do a brief or a summary, or what really based maybe on the questions of the consultation or on the big themes that you see coming up, decide to have a dedicated product that you could send that you could channel through us.
Yeah.
So you have a direct line, huh? So it's easy, but the challenge is to process the wealth of material there is in your project and in all the others into short yet interesting pieces of text, and the communication isn't going to be 300 pages. I don't know how long it will be, but there will be a requirement for it to be short and snappy, and
Yep.
So maybe, I don't know how it's going to look like. Maybe in the end there will be a big paragraph, or would be nice if there is a paragraph on urban-rural relations. Let's imagine it's 10 or 15 or 20 lines. What should it say? In the end is going to be that, and probably there will be annexes, and then this is to feed into action. So you could recommend also some actions. This is a bit messy, sorry, but
No,
we're not. I mean, there's the page of the communication is still blank, and again, it's a listening exercise, so it's going to shape as we go in the coming months. So.
Yeah. No, and Alison is just writing that we're used to messy. So in that sense, it's fine. I think this was really helpful. And I think it would be good to also sort of for ourselves to set this challenge of actually providing some sort of brief to you before the end of this year, if possible. I think it can also help us in the analysis that we're currently doing, sort of pulling different lines together, and really spend some time on sort of getting these 15 lines into the document about the sort of urban-rural relations.
I don't know. Maybe it will be 20 lines in 20 different paragraphs. I don't know, but that's where you can really provide something with big-headed value, I think, because you've been working so deeply on this.
Yeah. Okay, Hilka, you saw the question.
Yes, thank you, Alexia. This was most interesting. Just wondering, what are your expectations? Where is this rural vision going to have impact in EU policies? What are your expectations? Is it going to change somehow the focus of the next rural development programs, or would it have some impact on the regional development policy, structural funds, or is it more a kind of a political message to EU citizens that the EU cares for the rural areas? So what are your expectations? Or do you have any?
You're asking privately? Can I stop sharing so I see you guys?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. That would be nicer. I think it's all of this at the same time. So, but for the policies 21-27, we're a bit late because the process is ongoing already. Yet we hope and we try to make sure that the discussions, the launching of the debate now impacts the reflections on the CAP strategic plans as well. But a lot is asked from the CAP strategic plans. You have the Green Deal, you have the Farm to Fork, you have all of this with not really an increased budget. So we are trying. On the regional policy side, we're even later. The CAP is delayed, but the regional policy is less delayed. So we hope it can feed into the discussion as well. But I guess there it will be a bit trickier. So I think we're more launching a process that aims to improve the situation. Let's take the time to do it very well and improve the situation in the next cycle. But a very important thing as well is to try to raise awareness of the importance of rural in the other policy fields that are place blind. Energy, climate, they tend to be place blind, and we want to raise attention, including in-house, on the fact that the rural issues is not only a matter for the CAP, it's a matter for everyone. And that the policy should be rural proofed, which is a point of the Cork Declaration as well. And then we would internally very much like to see this lead to an action plan. Actions that would need to be taken not only by the EU, but also by the national and regional authorities, a bit in the spirit of the agendas that we have, urban agenda or things like that. So that we give ourselves that we build progressively a commitment from all the different governance levels to do something for the rural areas that feel quite rightfully left behind. And I hope we will get there. My expectation is that we try to get there. Then we all know politics, and so let's be prepared for what may or may not come about. But I think it's the first and the biggest occasion to try that we've had in years. So I'm hopeful that we can do it, and there's a real recognition that rural discontent is a big danger for Europe. So this is also rooted in, Brexit and then the yellow vests and all the rural, the feeling of being neglected that leads to a lot of dangers for democracy and the European project, and this needs to be addressed. So I hope this is an additional incentive to really deliver change. I don't know if that answers your question, Ilke.
Yeah, I see Hilka nodding on the screen, so I guess it does. Thank you very much, Alexia. Given time, I would like to sort of now move on to Vincent. So we definitely stay at the European level and how that is linked to robust. Vincent, I made you co-host, so if you could share your screen, that would be great.
Okay, I'm trying. Let's see the sound and vision challenges.
The sound is okay.
Is it? Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's half the battle. Now comes the vision bit then. Okay, the vision bit